Hello and welcome to the Transfer Portal CFB's week of previews. Actually, 2 weeks of previews. This week we will be going over all of the Power Five, so ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and someone I've forgotten. And then next week we're gonna have all the Group of Five stuff. Me and Dave here. Say hello, Dave.
Hey guys.
We're gonna be going over the ACC. The ACC is probably one of the more interesting conferences to me. That it's not wide open, but like there's a few like obvious teams at the top, but they have a really big middle tier. They have a few teams at the bottom. They have a really big middle tier that opens up to a lot of variability.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be very interesting this year, especially with Clemson coming off a down year, Sam Hartman coming back for Wake Forest, Tyler Van Dyke being a stud. So I'm very interested in what's going to happen.
Yeah, Clemson has kind of ran this conference for a few years now. Obviously, last year they lost to Pittsburgh in the Kenny Pickett year. So is this kind of a changing of the guard, or do we see something else happening? So in terms of big storyline, a few new head coaches. Sean Fry, the DC out of Penn State.
Brent Pry.
Did I say Sean?
You said Sean Pry. Yeah, Brent.
Brent Pry is set
my
to
guy.
Take at Virginia Tech. You're the Penn State fan, so I'll let you talk about him.
Yeah, I love Brent Pry. I'm super excited for him. Obviously I was a little upset when he left, but like I think because I wanted him to be the head coach, because if you follow transfer portal stuff, you know that I don't like James Franklin. I wrote a whole article writing a letter to him about how I think he's very overrated and he doesn't get the job done. But Brent Pry was the heart of the Penn State defense. He ran that defense incredibly. They were so good last year. And it's going to be interesting with us having Manny Diaz this year instead. But I think he's going to do a fantastic job. It's his first head coaching job. I don't know. This is his first big-time head coaching job, and I think he's going to turn that Virginia Tech defense into a legit defense in the ACC that can beat teams up.
Yeah, I think pretty much all the head coaching hires in this conference were actually pretty good. So speaking of Manny Diaz, the man Manny Diaz is being replaced by Mario Cristobal, the old head coach at Oregon, is headed over to Miami to head that Tyler Van Dyke-led juggernaut. And Mario Cristobal obviously is known as the great recruiter, and he did that again. He brought a fantastic recruiting class over with him, and it's just kind of how does that translate onto the field, and that's kind of what Miami fans are hoping happens, but Oregon fans were hoping happened for years, and it never really kind of fully panned out.
Yeah, I think it's a great hire. I mean, that's his alma mater. He wanted to be there, and you have such a hotbed of players, high school players in South Florida in that area that I think he will do a great job getting those kids in. And I'm super excited to see what he's going to do this season with this Miami team, because they have potential. They have Tyler Van Dyke. They just like with Derek King and the way that the team had been running the past many years, I don't think he did a very good job. I think he's more suited to a DC kind of job like he has now. Miami hasn't been good since Mark Richt when they were ranked like number 2, and they were supposed to make the playoffs and they fell apart because that's what Miami does. But I think Cristobal will bring this team's potential out, and I think that they are going to be legit this year, not to contend for the playoff, but I think they'll contend for the conference, which we'll get onto later.
I would agree. Then elsewhere, Sean Elliott, the old Clemson offensive coordinator, stays in the conference, and then he's going to head coach over. Why am I forgetting things? He's going to head coach at UVA. Yeah. UVA was kind of shocking to see them lose their head coach, because they were decent last year, but they lost the last 4 games, but they were bowl eligible, which is what you can expect for UVA.
Yeah, that's kind of what Bronco Mendenhall turned them into, just a team that'll make bowl games.
Yeah, it was a good get for him. Sean Elliott has been on on the head coaching radar for a few years now, and I'm sure he had offers at better schools, but UVA is where he decided to go, and that's what they got. And then Duke gets Mike Elko, which was probably a way better hire than Duke deserved. Mm-hmm. Mike Elko's been one of the better DCs on the market for a few years now, and I guess maybe Duke was just the spot that gave him a head coaching job instead of what he was doing, but he headed some really good defenses at A&M.
Yeah, which is, Duke's a weird spot They're not a football school. They are not very good. They haven't been good since I think they played Manziel in whatever bowl that was when they got smoked by Jameis Winston in the ACC championship. They're just like a rebuilding of a program, and I think he will be able to bring guys in. I don't think they'll be too great this year. Maybe they'll be a consistent bowl team in the future, but I don't think they'll really be able to contend as good as Mike Elko can be. It's going to be very tough for them to beat up these teams this year. And then if the ACC ever falls apart, then maybe they'll get back to the ACC championship.
Yeah, I think mostly he was going to a spot that, like, he felt like he could like mold his own team rather than somewhere that had their own identity. Like Duke football, no one's really going to hear what happens like up at the top head of Duke football, so he can kind of like do what he wanted here and bring his guys over.
Yeah, that's the Mike Elko. That's Mike Elko project. It's going to be his baby, and he's going to try to turn them into winners, and we'll see. It's going to be interesting.
All right, so that's it for new head coaches. All, I think, fairly good hires. Like Duke got probably the best coach they could have gotten, and everyone else is just really solid DCs or head coaches from other schools that are going to do the job pretty well.
Absolutely.
In terms of new QBs, there's not a lot of turnover at QB in the ACC. I think 11 starters are returning, and so there's 3 new ones. So obviously Kenny Pickett and Sam Howell leave, and they're replaced by Keaton Slovis at Pitt and probably Drake May at UNC. He's who I'm hearing is going to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too.
Yeah, so those Slovis is obviously probably going to be a pretty big step down from Pitt. He was freshman of the year. He had a great freshman year, and then obviously has struggled with injuries and just down years since. So maybe he can turn it around at Pitt, and they can be a good team again.
Yeah. So when I bet college football a ton, and me and my friends would follow every game pretty much. And night when Keaton Slovis made his debut, we started calling him Keaton the Truth Slovis. So I don't think he's the truth anymore. He lost that job at USC. He has the potential to be so good, but he just is so inconsistent. And I think it's a very good spot for him, considering Kenny Pickett. As a Penn State guy, like I followed Pitt, and I knew what they're going on. We played them every year. I never thought Kenny Pickett never moved the needle for me. And last year he becomes this Heisman frontrunner stud, which came out of nowhere to me. But I think that if they can turn Kenny Pickett into that, they can also turn Keaton Slovis into a very, very solid D1 quarterback. So I think he'll be good. But again, you get those inconsistencies, and I don't think Pitt won't be as good as they were last year, which was the best Pitt I think can be ever.
Right. I think their defense is going to be really good again, but that offense is going to be just going straight downhill pretty much.
They're going to have growing pains for sure.
Then Drake May, he was a former 5-star recruit. I think he was regarded as a pretty standardly in the top 10 recruits for his QB class. So he might be able to turn the head to UNC. Sam Howell obviously had a down year there last year, but maybe Drake May turns it around.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll have to find out. I don't know a ton about Drake May. He's actually Luke May's brother. Did not know that.
That actually
basketball stud. I'm looking at him right now. So he's got some. So he's probably going to be a fan favorite then. Yeah, Sam Howell had a down year. I mean, I feel like if you're Drake May, this is a good situation for you because all you got to do is be better than 6-6 than Sam Howell was last year. Mac Brown's still there, right? Yeah, Mac Brown's a great coach, so he could probably turn Drake May into something solid. I think UNC will be competitive. I don't think they'll be amazing, but I think they'll be a competitive team that could surprise some people this year.
Yeah. And then the other spot where there's going to be new QBs is Sean Elliott coming over. He actually brought in a ton of competition from the transfer portal, but he brought in 2 guys, Jason Brown and Grant Wells, both of whom just kind of average backup starters for Marshall. And where's Jason Brown from? I know Grant Wells is from Marshall. Where's Jason Brown from?
I mean, it'll be interesting because I know Brennan Armstrong's the guy, and Brennan Armstrong is very good. So I think he'll have a very good year this year, but they could probably learn from him and learn the system because I would be stunned if these 2 guys came in and took that job.
Yeah. No. Brandon, wait. I have mixed up my head coach. So these guys are at Virginia Tech, not at Virginia, but I don't know why I said Sean Elliott was going there.
Yeah. So you got Vatek and Virginia confused. No worries.
Yeah. So these guys are coming over to Virginia Tech. So these are probably going to compete for the starting job at Virginia Tech.
Yeah. That'll be interesting to see because I don't know a ton about the Virginia Tech quarterbacks, but I know they need new guys. And it's going to be interesting because, again, I think Virginia Tech, like I said before, Brent Pry, defense first, that's what they're going to be. They're going to shut teams down or try to shut teams down, and they're just going to have to try to put up points.
That's it for the transfer QBs. Not a ton of changes here. Most of the guys are going to be incumbent starters. There's some good QB play in this conference.
Like low key, very, very good QB plays, and I prefer when guys come back for another year and keep playing because either they bump up that draft stock, get anything better, or they're Sean Clifford and they're god awful and no one wants them to play anymore. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. Like I think pretty much every game. Unless you're a Duke or a Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech, like you're going to have a very good quarterback.
Yeah. And then, so the other big news from the conference is besides the realignment that's happening everywhere with every single team pretty much. So there's a few teams that are that are rumored to leave. Florida State, Miami, Clemson are all rumored to the SEC. Both the Virginia teams rumored to the Big Ten. So there's movement that could be all around there. But outside of that, they, along with the Mountain West, they're planning to eliminate they're going to the 3-3-5 scheduling method.
I love that. I think that's what everybody should do. It's just so much better. Get your 3 protected rivals and then you play whoever. I think that's the way it should be. I hope that everybody else goes to that because then you get more playing everybody every single year opposed to, am I playing you don't know who you're playing. I just think it's so much better. And it's better for the conference, better for the sports, better for us as fans to watch more of this, everybody competing with each other. So I'm a big fan of what the ACC did. I hope more conferences continue. Unfortunately for the ACC, I think those teams, Miami, Florida State, I think they're all gone. I think they're going to leave in the next couple of years, which stinks because you got a fantastic new format, but then you're going to have weird teams playing each other in it.
Then you're going to have Duke and Georgia Tech playing in it.
Yep. It stinks for basketball. I know we're college football, but that's brutal for basketball that we might lose UNC Duke. But
But the 3-5 method, like you said, is very good. It opens up the variability in games every year so much better. And then for the conference championship, also it improves it a lot. You're going to get the guaranteed 2 best teams every year.
Perfect.
All right. So then breakout players. My first is actually from Pitt. It's Israel Abanikanda, the running back from Pitt. He's someone I followed mostly because of Prize Picks last year and betting over under rushing yards. But every time I watch it, I'm like, this guy's getting 9 yards a carry. Why isn't he getting the ball more? So it should be his kind of job this year as like a solo running back. So I think he could have a big breakout year.
Especially with Slovis now. They're going to be running the ball a lot more. My first breakout player is Taylor Morton from Wake Forest. He was their number 3 option. And because they're 2 best guys left, he's going to be maybe the top option. And Sam Hartman can sling it. I love Sam Hartman. I love this Wake team this year. I think that Taylor Morton's going to have a fantastic year. He's just going to rack up the yards and score a ton of touchdowns. And it's going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I think him and A.T. Perry, their other top receiver, I think they are going to just fucking shred teams this year.
Yeah.
That Wake Forest offense is going to score a lot of points. The defense, but that offense is going to score a lot of points. They're going to be fun to watch.
Yep.
My second guy is Malik Cunningham, QB at Louisville. He is probably my favorite QB to watch in this class. He's so electric. He's obviously he's going to get that Lamar comparison a ton just because he's from Louisville and they have similar play styles. I think he's not quite the electric runner Lamar was, but in college, I think he's a bit more polished of a passer. Lamar has obviously transcended that level and is MVP in the NFL, but I think he's a bit more of a polished of a passer than Lamar was his last year at Louisville.
Yeah, Cunningham shows flashes of greatness, but sometimes he just makes bad decisions and throws bad picks. He can definitely move. He's not Lamar, like you said, but these quarterbacks in the ACC are super exciting. So for my other breakout player, I want to go super chalky. I'm going with Tyler Van Dyke. He is going to be legit this year. He's going to be like, I have his stats up right now. Last, how many weeks is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. His last 6 weeks as starter. 325, 426, 389, 316, 357, 381 yards. And he doesn't really throw picks a lot. He threw 3 against UNC, but he's going to be – you give him a full year with this playbook. I don't know if Chris Paul's installing a new offense. I don't think he is. I'm sure it's going to be very similar. You give him a full year to prepare as the starter. He knows he's coming as the starter. He's going to light up the ACC, and it's going to be so much fun to watch, and I cannot wait. I'm kind of a Miami fan because my dad went there. So my allegiance lie with Penn State, but I love some Hurricane football.
I would have had Van Dyke here, but I considered him already kind of having broken out because he was like the third best QB in the second half of the year last year. He was that good. I think he had the second best QB rating behind only Bryce Young. He was really good last year. And so I would agree. I've already bet him to win the Heisman at like 40-1. So
It's a great pick.
Yeah, so I love that pick. I think Tyler Van Dyke is a stud. He's my so Malik might be my favorite to watch. Tyler Van Dyke is like, in terms of like where I am compared to like the consensus and other people, he's my favorite QB in this class.
Oh yeah,
he's easily my third behind Bryce and
CJ Stroud's my one, but I can't say that out loud often because I hate Ohio State.
That's fair. So then next we're going to talk about our top in-conference games. My first is Miami at Clemson because I think this is going to be kind of just a preview of the conference championship game. I think Miami's the Clemson defense is obviously their better half unless DJ turns it around this year, but their Clemson defense is going to be their better half of the big. So I think Tyler Van Dyke against that defense is going to be a lot of fun. So I think that's going to be our preview of the conference championship game this year.
So I would agree with you, except that I am going with Wake Forest and Clemson because Clemson has to go into Wake. Clemson doesn't lose at home. I think that place is going to be rowdy, and I think that Wake will steal a win against Clemson in that game, which could propel them to a first-place standing. That's just going to be a great game because Wake played them well last year, and at Clemson, which nobody can ever win at Death Valley. But I think Wake having home field advantage will be very, very beneficial to them.
My second favorite game is actually, it also includes Wake Forest, but it's Wake Forest at Louisville, just I think they're going to put up 85 points combined.
Oh, absolutely.
Those defenses are going to be able to stop each other, and it's just going to be a light show.
My second, this isn't. I don't know if this counts. To me, Notre Dame's an ACC team. It really is. So I'm going with Clemson at Notre Dame again. That game was that 2 years ago when Notre Dame beat them. I think when it was the COVID game and everyone ran on the field and people freaked out. I think that's going to be an incredible game, and it's going to show that that's pretty much going to be whether Clemson can compete for a national title or not, because I think Notre Dame's legit. And if Clemson comes away with that win in South Bend, that's going to be huge for them.
Yeah. Clemson has a tough schedule this year. Like their over-unders at 10.5. Like they drew a tough schedule this year.
Yeah, their non-conference is pretty weak. I'm looking at it right now. Furman, Louisiana Tech, Notre Dame's tough, but like just that stretch of games they have like clumped together. They have a ton of road games clumped together. In the middle, it's going to be tough, but I think they'll win a bunch.
Yeah. And then my last one is going to be another Miami game. I like Miami a lot this year, so I'm going to be biased towards Miami, but it's going to be Miami against Pitt. It's that's their last game of the season, and it's going to be like one of the best tests in terms of defense that Tyler Van Dyke's going to face, because Pitt was one of the better defenses in the country last year. I think they were second in sacks. So I think it's going to be one of the best tests of how well can Tyler Van Dyke perform against a really good defense. So that's my third game that I'm excited to watch. And since it's the last game of the season, if Pitt and Miami are like neck and neck for that's the one of the conference championship game spots, that could be a fun game.
I'm also going with Pitt, but also once again going out of conference. Week 1, Thursday night football, backyard brawl is back. Pitt in West Virginia, first time in a very long time these guys have played each other, and that game is going to be crazy. Under the lights. It's going to be just such a fun game to watch. I can't wait. I know Penn State plays Purdue that afternoon, and we're going to go right into Pitt, West Virginia. I think Pitt wins the game because at home, and I just think they're better than West Virginia. That game, and everyone's going to – I think Keaton Slovis plays really well, and they win – whatever the spread is going to be, they're going to cover. I think it stays under, but that's going to be a great game. And then next week they'll lose to Tennessee, but it's going to be a great game.
They're going to be – that place is going to be loud the first
It's going to be insane. It's going to be like I don't like Pitt, but they do get an atmosphere when they need to.
All right. So let's move into our rankings now. And I'm pretty confident we both have the same bottom two. So I'm on the count of three. Let's just say our bottom two team is one.
Oh, I don't know if we do, actually.
You don't think we do?
No, I don't. I think I might surprise people with my bottom two. Where am I? Right. Okay, so I'm sure we have one side the same. I'm going Syracuse bottom, the one side.
You have Syracuse at the bottom.
I have Syracuse at the bottom, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so I have Duke and Georgia Tech as my bottom two.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm in the – yeah, no, I have Syracuse and Georgia Tech as my bottom two because I have Duke in second place. I think they're in the – I forget. Wait. I have Duke in second in the Coastal because their out-of-conference schedule is just incredibly easy.
It is but one of my hot takes is this year is Duke wins 2 games this year. I think Duke's going to be bad.
I have Georgia Tech winning 2 games. I think Georgia Tech's going to be really bad.
I also agree Georgia Tech is going to be really bad.
Yeah, they're going to be really bad. But I mean, we can agree that Syracuse stinks. They just have Sean Tucker. That's about it.
Syracuse is my third from the bottom. So they're pretty easily.
I have Syracuse winning 2 games, going 2-10. With not I think so the thing with Syracuse for me is that I have them, I just kind of went chalky, I have them 2-10, not winning a conference game, but they can steal a game or two if they go against a bad rush defense, which is very possible. But they never have a quarterback and they can never throw the ball. So if you can stop Sean Tucker, you pretty much stop the entire offense.
Yeah, if they win more than 3.5, 4 games, it's going to be because Sean Tucker ran roughshod over a couple teams. Like exactly. They'll win it at UConn versus Wagner, obviously, but
yeah. What's their total at?
It's 3.5.
3.5. Okay. And then what's Duke's total? Is that the same?
Also 3.5. I have the under on both of those.
Interesting. Because I think that Duke can. I mean, I have them 1-7 in conference, but I had it right here. I think they can beat Temple. Yeah. And I think they can beat Kansas. They'll beat North. If they lose to North Carolina A&T, then I'm just basically burning money if I take that over. But yeah, I have them starting off 3-1, and then the rest of the season they go 1-7.
Yeah, I think that one's gonna that like 3.5, that over under, that's gonna turn against Kansas. If they beat Kansas, they probably goes over because I think they win against Temple, North Carolina. I think they beat Northwestern 3 years in a row now. So
have they now?
I think so.
Interesting. I did not know that because Northwestern's not great, but I have Northwestern beating Duke in that game. But that's going to be an absolute – that's a noon game on FS1. My eyes are just going to bleed. I'll bet it, but I'm just going to be terrible to watch.
Yeah. So then those teams are like pretty comfortably my 3 in the bottom tier.
I agree with you.
Then it opens up like a really big middle tier before we get to like the last 5 teams that are kind of like there's a few there. I think there's a pretty clear separation at the top, but like from Florida State to UNC for me, I think there's like a really big middle tier that I just don't know what happens. And like books agree with it. All of those teams are like anywhere from 6.5 to 5.5 wins.
Yes, I have the same thing. I have one team that I will announce later, which I think will surprise people. Yeah, but my middle is about the same. Let me look here. So I have on the one side, I have Louisville 6-6, FSU 5-7, BC 5-7. I do not like Phil Jerkovic. I think he's incredibly slow and overrated. No offense, Phil. And then I have UVA 6-6. I actually have UNC winning 7 games.
Yeah, I had Florida State. They're at 6.5, so I have them on the under. So I think
6 or 5 for them.
They don't have any guaranteed wins that I would say. Like it's like you look at that, they're like obviously they're going to win, except Duke in week 0. Like outside of that, I don't think there's any game to be like overwhelmingly favored in. Like Duke and Georgia Tech, obviously they should be favored against, but outside of that, I think it's going to be pretty rough for them.
Their schedule 2020 something like one. I have them losing to LSU, Louisville, Wake, NC State, Clemson, Miami, and Florida. So that means I have them. They should beat Duquesne. That'd be very embarrassing if they didn't. Then Syracuse, they'll beat Lafayette. I think they'll beat the Raging Cajuns. I don't think the Raging Cajuns are as good as they were last year.
I think that was kind of their Cinderella year.
Yeah, I love Coastal. Plus 550 for listening. Take that to win the Sun Belt.
All right, then my next team, I have Virginia Tech. So Virginia Tech is also at 6.5. I have them at the over on that. I think they can win 7. It's close, but I think they should be able to win 7. Like they should beat Old Dominion. They should beat Wofford, and they should beat Liberty without Malik Willis.
Yeah. Well, you know who their quarterback is now, Liberty, right? Are you aware of the movement?
Is it really new movement?
Yeah, it's Charlie Brewer, the old Baylor quarterback. He's their starting quarterback, which is very interesting. I mean, they couldn't really win with Malik Willis, who is a generational talent at Liberty probably. I don't know how good he'll be in the NFL. But Charlie Brewer is a very solid D1 quarterback that I think could play well. But I like Virginia Tech. You have them at 7. I actually have them winning 8 games. I have them in second place in their division. Let's see where I confuse myself. Yeah, I have them behind Miami in the division because I have them losing to West Virginia, UNC, Miami, and NC State. So I have them beating BC, Wofford. I have them beating Pitt, which I think will be a great game. I should have brought that up in there. That's going to be defensive battle. Duke, Liberty, and UVA. Yep, and Georgia Tech. So I think Brent Pry is going to bring some confidence to them with that. I think that defense is going to be absolutely legit. I could see them winning. I think they'll go over as well. I think it'll be close 7, but I like them with 8 just to shock people because I wanted to go a little bit different. But yeah, and then
I mixed it up a little bit there. So I have them beating West Virginia, but then losing to Pitt, and then I also have them losing to Virginia. So I have them. So that's their my 5 losses for them would be North Carolina, Pitt, Miami, and then NC State.
Yep. Yeah. So we just swapped that up.
Yep. But both of us have the over there. So the next is Boston College, who you already said you have the under. I have they're at 6.5 too. Yeah, they're at 6.5 too. So you have 5. I have a very slight lean to the under there at 6.5. I have them going 6 and 6.
Yeah, I really don't like Jurkovic. I know people are very high on him. I have watched him play in big games. I know he's more experienced now. I just don't think he's got good pocket presence. He makes good throws, big, strong throws. He's just so slow. He just can't move. And I don't know. I just am not a big fan. I don't think the BC team as a whole, their defense isn't fantastic. It's a BC team, so it'll be fine. But yeah, I don't love them this year. I have them losing to Virginia Tech. I have them losing to FSU, Louisville, Clemson, Wake, NC State, and losing Notre Dame. If they beat Notre Dame, that'd be awesome. But I don't think it'll happen. Whatever is the red bandana game. I don't know when that is. I don't know if they've announced it yet, but that's an automatic win and a cover for them.
Yeah. So I like Jurkovic a bit more than you, but I people will have him as like a top 5 QB in the class, and I'm like,
yeah, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, but obviously he had some injuries last year, but what his injuries last year kind of allowed them to do is they ran the ball a lot more, and they ran it to Pat Garwo, and I like Pat Garwo a lot. So I think he's a stud. So I think I also had it under, but I have them at 6. I think you had them losing to Virginia Tech, or not Virginia Tech,
Florida State,
and I have them beating Florida State. I don't think Florida State.
I took Florida State because they're at Florida State. To go back to my red bandana point, do not take them to win. They're playing Clemson for the red bandana game. If they pull that off, that'd be incredible. But take that spread, which I'm going to guess is going to be a little over 2 touchdowns.
You said to win and cover, so I'm not.
Yeah, no, I'm rescinding the win. I just looked it up. They're playing Clemson for it, which is a great time to do it. But yeah, they're not going to win.
I'll take them at the cover at plus 19.5 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Hammer that. Hammer the cover.
All right, and then Florida State was my next team. I had Florida State at their number. Like I said, all these teams in the middle tier, all 6.5, 5.5. So Florida State is also going to be at 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jordan Travis has improved a lot. He's improved year over year. So I think another year of improvement for him, and maybe he could be something. But I have them at 6.
Yeah, I have them at 5 because they have it's a tough schedule. Like going to LSU, they're playing at home against LSU, but still, that's a tough game. I think LSU is just better than them. Going to Louisville, I have them losing just because I like Malik Cunningham more. And then I think the upper teams that they play, NC State, Clemson, Wake Forest, Miami, they're not going to be able to win any of them. They could beat Florida. I think they could beat Florida. It'll get them to 6, but getting above that 6.5 number is going to be very tough.
Yeah, because I think what I wrote in my preview is that it's going to turn at that rivalry game. Like, but Florida has dominated them in that for most of time, except for when they had Jameis. But yeah. So I think they probably lose that game, and that pushes them under pretty easily. Like most of my over-unders, I based off of, did they get to play Duke and Georgia Tech? They're probably good for an over. Did they have to play NC State, Clemson, and Miami? It's not looking good for them. And since they have to play all 3 of them,
it's a wash then. So it's going to be tough. So yeah, I take that under as well.
Yeah. So then who was my next team? Was Louisville. So Louisville, I had their number's 5.5. So I have them pushing to that over and get again 6. I think all these teams in this middle tier are going to be really close to 6 and 6, either 5 and 7 or 7 and 5. But I have them going 6 and 6.
I also have them going 6 and 6.
We agree.
I have them. Yeah, it's probably the first time we've agreed. Who do I have them beating? Because they play. I have them losing to UCF. I think John Reese Plumlee is going to be their starting quarterback, the old Ole Miss guy that would just run. Mm-hmm. So I think that'll be a fun game to watch because they're going to put up 1,000,000 points in that game too. But it's at UCF, which is a crazy atmosphere. So I think that'll be tough. It'll be close, but I think UCF edges them out. I have them losing to UVA on the road. I have them losing to Wake, Clemson, NC State, and then Kentucky. I just think Kentucky is much better than them, as they have been for the past 3 years, whenever it's been. But yeah, I think 6 is a good play.
I have the exact same wins and losses for them there. So
nice.
Yeah, I just think everything falls pretty easily there. Like their number is kind of the easiest to project, just because like I feel like almost every single game you look at and you're like, okay, they win that. Okay, they lose that. The only game that was like kind of iffy for me was Pitt. I was like, maybe they can beat Pitt, but
yeah. So that means they'll have 6 they'll be 6 and 3, and they'll lose the last 3, which would be just an easy way to not sweat it.
Right. Which is what you want. Because I think a lot of the over-unders for this are going to be like hinging on one of the last games of the season, like it's a rivalry, and those are always kind of sweaty.
Definitely.
All right. So then next up, I had UVA. What was UVA's number? I think UVA was actually at 7.5.
Really?
Let me double check that.
It's kind of high for them, I feel like.
UVA was 7.5. I also thought that was high. I like a lot of the UVA team, but that number was just weird for me.
Yeah, I mean, they're Virginia. Like they play guys close, but I don't. Yeah, that's a hard over for me then.
Yeah, because like Brennan Armstrong is a stud. Keaton Thompson is he's used everywhere, so he's fun to watch. And then Dontavion Wicks is like one of the better big play threats in the country. Yeah, but without Tony Elliott there, I think they're going to have a good offense. But that defense is just going to – I don't think it's good enough to win 8 games. That number was weird for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have them losing to Illinois, I think. I do. Yeah, on the road. Because that's a weird out-of-conference game for me. UVA, Illinois, that's just going to be a game that I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be like, why am I watching this?
Why are these teams playing?
Yeah, and they wear the same colors. I'm going to be confused the whole time.
Yeah, I have them losing at Illinois, against Louisville, Miami, against UNC, and then against Pitt. So I have them at 7-5.
I have them at 6-6 because I have all the same losses, but I have them losing to Coastal. Because I think Coastal is going to be legit this year. I love Grayson McCall, and I think that they're going to be an absolute mission to try and get into a New Year's Six bowl this year. I think it's going to be Grayson McCall's last year, and they're going to be on a mission, and that'll be a big win for them.
I like Grayson a lot too. I think he's a stud.
Yeah, he's great.
All right, and then next up is back to UNC, and we're back finally to 6.5. I had them under here, but I think if Drake May shows that he's good, like if he just goes better than 6-6, I think they can push to 6. But I had them at under 6.5. I had them at 6.
At 6.
He has weapons, like Josh Downs is really good. Antoine Green showed some juice last year. Yep. But outside of that, the receiver room is just kind of like no one's really played any snaps.
Yeah, I have them at 7 wins, actually, because the way that I saw it is that I think that they were very disappointed last year and going 6-7 with Sam Howell's last year. I think they're going to be – I think Drake May will be good. And their first 3 games really helps them out. Florida A&M, oh my God. Florida A&M, the Rattlers, shout out. App State, Georgia State. I think that's 3 wins for them. And then they lose 2 in a row, I have. They're losing to ND. No, I have them beating Virginia Tech. Do I? Wait 1 sec. Sorry. Yes, I have them beating Virginia Tech at home, losing to Miami, beating Duke, losing to Pitt, losing to Wake, beating Georgia. I have them beating NC State to get them to the over the last week. That's what I have.
Yeah, so I have the same losses, except I have them losing to NC State. I think NC State's probably might win 10 games this year. So yeah. I have them.
That pushes the over for me because I just at home. The way that I kind of see it is that I might be relying on home field advantage way too much, but I think that'll be a game that maybe a night. It's going to be a Friday night game, so it's going to be at night, and they're going to have it under the lights. I just think that juice will be pumping. They'll get over.
I think something
push them to win.
A bit weird with the ACC. They almost there's a few teams that I was like you have to play Notre Dame or like UVA against Illinois. Outside of that, they got really really easy non-conference schedules.
Yeah.
So then I think is that North Carolina? So then North Carolina is my last team in that middle tier. So there's that big group of teams that are like probably gonna go 6-6, probably gonna go 5-7.
Yep, and I'm the same way.
Then starts there. Then like the top tier separated into 2 tiers for me. So I have Pitt and Wake Forest. I have them like slightly below NC State, Clemson, Miami, and then I have NC State, Clemson, Miami as a clear top tier. But then you said something about Wake Forest going 11-1.
Yes. So the way that I see it, I want to get crazy. I wanted to change it up. I have in my top tier is 6 teams. So I guess you could kind of lump. Actually, never mind. So I have my next tier would be Pitt and Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. That's my second tier because I think Pitt's going to have a down year without Kenny Pickett. I think like I said before, that's the best Pitt football we'll ever get. So I have Pitt going 8-4. Then I have Virginia Tech being surprising, like we talked about, at 8-4. And then my top tier is Wake, Clemson, NC State, Miami. So I can talk about my Wake going 11-1 because the defense is going to be a problem, obviously, and Wake going 11-1 is crazy. But their first 3 weeks, I think they're easy wins. VMI, they'll smoke. Vanderbilt, they'll smoke. Liberty, they'll smoke. And then Clemson at home, I have them beating Clemson at home because I think that just the home field advantage again, like I said, I might be over-exaggerating it, but I think Clemson doesn't want to play on the road. All their big losses they've ever had are on the road. And I think that Sam Hartman's going to ball out. I think the defense – I think this is – if we go down to the hot take section or whatever, I'll say it now. I think this is Ungalele's last game as a Clemson starter because I think he's going to play terrible. I think they're not going to put up any points, and I think Wake Forest wins that game. And then after that, FSU, they'll beat Army, if they lose to Army, then I'm just gonna never talk about the ACC ever again. They'll beat Army. They'll beat BC. At Louisville again is going to be a shootout, but I think I like Hartman better than Malik Cunningham. And then going to NC State, I have them losing at NC State as their only loss because I think Devin Leary is going to ball out and that defense is going to have a bit off week. And then UNC Syracuse Duke is a nice 3-game. They could lose to UNC. I don't think they will. So then I have them going 11-1, which is crazy. Call me nuts, but I really like Wake this year, and I think they'll go 11-1, 10-2.
Yeah, so I have them at 10-2 also, but 11-1 was just crazy to me. If DJ doesn't put up any points against this Wake Forest defense, then he should be benched. I agree. If that's the case, then this should be his last game as a Clemson starter.
Yes, that's what I think is going to happen.
This Wake Forest defense is bad.
It's bad, but I think the offense is that good. I think it will be that good this year.
Yeah, so Sam Harton, A.T. Perry are both studs, and then they lost their top rusher, but like they've always been more of a committee anyway. Like Christian and Justin Ellison, the guys that are going to take over, both of them ran for over 500 yards last year. So it's not like, and then the other guy ran for 600. So it's not like they're losing. It's not like they're losing Travion.
Yeah.
But I had them
very high on this team.
I had them 9-3 on the verge of 9-3, 10-2 because I think they might lose at Louisville or at Florida State. One of those two games could be a loss for them just because of the way toss-ups. But I have them, their number is 8.5. I have my bets for them are over 8.5, and I have them, if you can find it for them to make the conference championship game anywhere, I actually have that written down as a bet too, because there's 1,600 to win the conference, which I just feel is like a bit outnumbered just compared to everyone else around them.
Great value.
Yeah. So if you can find that at like half the odds just to make the conference championship game, like a plus 800 to make conference championship game, I think that's a really good bet.
Yeah, definitely.
So then Pitt was my next team in that tier, and their number started at 8.5, but got bet down really quickly to 7.5, which makes sense when you consider what happens with
because I know it sounds stupid. It's obvious what I'm going to say, but the difference between 8 and 9 games is humongous. Because again, it's going to come down to the last game most likely.
Yeah, there was 2 games. There was 2 teams that were like this. So it was UNC opened at 7.5 and quickly got bet down to 6.5. And Pitt opened at 8.5 and quickly got bet down to 7.5. And both of those I would have been like easy unders on for the numbers that it was previously. But at 6.5 and at 7.5, I'm like, well, hold on now. Because Pitt's offense is obviously going to be it's going to be a down year compared to last year. Because Keaton Slovis is a pretty big drop off from Kenny Pickett, even if Kenny Pickett did have a miraculous year. And then, but that was at least kind of, okay, they have a replacement coming in. They have like their plan in stock. And then Jordan Addison left. And they didn't have really any in the cupboard to back that up. They got a kid out of Akron he was all-American freshman. He was Kanata Mumfield. He was good as a freshman last year. I think he had 800 yards, but
yeah, he was really good for Akron last year. I remember him.
Jordan Addison left. That's a Bolitnikov size hole, and I don't think Mumfield's going to fill quite that.
Yeah. So what do you have the number at?
I have it at 8. Like I said, at 8.5, I was an easy under, but at 7.5, I think their team's solid enough because like they're returning all of their O-line. Abanikanda, who I said is really good.
I'm in the exact same boat.
And on defense, they're returning 10 starters and I think 6 all ACC selections. So like their defense that was good last year is going to be good again.
Yep.
So I have them at 8.
Yeah, I have them losing to Tennessee, Virginia Tech in that sloppy game that I picked earlier. That's going to be a defensive battle. Louisville and Miami. Those are their losses I have for them.
Yep, same. I have that losing to Tennessee, Louisville, at Miami. They are a good enough team defense like stop Miami, but at Miami, I think that gives Miami the edge there.
Yeah. They could win 9 games also, which I think they could win 9, but I have them at 8. I think that nice little Syracuse Duke last couple of weeks of the season really helps that over out.
And this is like another team like we're outside of Tennessee. They like Rhode Island and West Virginia. They are going to be really easy games for them outside of conference.
Western Michigan, you mean?
No, they play both.
Yeah, Western Michigan. Yeah, did you mean West Virginia? Because I think West Virginia's a tough game. I mean, like Western Michigan will smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, they could smoke West Virginia, but I think the rivalry thing will kick in. They'll beat West Virginia though.
Yeah. So then we enter my top tier. So how do you have these three teams ranked? Miami, NC State, or Clemson?
Okay. So I have Clemson, NC State, and then I have Miami winning the division at 10-2.
I also have, so that's how mine would be. But I would have NC State as my third team, my Clemson as my second team, and then I have Miami winning the conference.
I also have Miami winning the conference.
Yeah, I like Miami a lot this year. I've already bet, like I said, Tyler Van Dyke to win the Heisman plus 3,300 or plus 40, I think it was. Miami to win the conference at plus 600, and I bet the over at 8.5. I've bet all of those already.
Yeah, they have that Texas A&M game, I think, is going to be – I have them losing Texas A&M. I think that's going to be an awesome game. But just going there, I think it's going to be close. But I think they lose that game, which doesn't matter because it's out of conference. And then I have them losing to Clemson, which is also going to be a great game. But I think they'll lose to Clemson. That'll be their only conference loss because their conference schedule isn't hard. They play Duke, Georgia Tech. Yeah, they're going to lose to Clemson on the road, which is fine, but that'll be their only conference loss. And then I have them winning that division by 2 games pretty handedly.
Yeah, I have them also going 10-2. I think just because Texas A&M and Clemson, no one wins in Death Valley, and then at Texas A&M, I think it's going to be a good game. But I think they lose.
I hope they win because I do not like Texas A&M. That's a cult.
But their number is 8.5, and I think there's no way they don't get to 9.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Maybe lose to Pitt, but even then, that's still 9-3, and they hit that pretty easily.
Yeah, I can't see them losing. I think that'll also be there's a good chance that's a game day game last week of the season. Mm-hmm. Or at least it's going to be primetime game for sure. If we have Pitt at 8-4 and we have Miami going in, Miami will be 9-2. Pitt will be 8-3. So pretty much that'll be a great game. And then you're very high on NC State, right?
Not very high. I have them winning 9. I have them going 9-3.
I also have them winning 9.
So I have them. Their over is 8.5. So I have them going over that, but I don't have them. I don't think they have a really good defense, and they have
Devin Leary,
top 10 QB in the country. But I don't think they have enough outside of him to really push for double-digit wins. They could. Their schedule's not awful. Again, they don't have to face Miami, so they only have to face Clemson of the top tier.
That Texas Tech game is going to be interesting because I know that Texas Tech isn't great, whatever, yada, yada. People sleep on Texas Tech, but I think they are exciting, and it's going to be a good game. NC State will win that game. It'll be a clash. Also, this out-of-conference schedule outside Texas Tech is one of the easiest I've seen.
ECU and Charleston Southern.
And then UConn. That first 4 weeks, they're going to be 4-0, and they're going to be riding high. Then they got to go into Death Valley, which will be tough. And plus, I have them going to Death Valley off of Clemson losing to Wake Forest. So a pissed off Clemson in Death Valley. So that'll be a tough game. I have them losing that game. I have them losing to UNC.
Yeah.
Which I talked about earlier. Do I have them losing Texas Tech? I think I do. Yeah, I do actually. Never mind. They'll beat Texas Tech. Screw that. I have them going 10-2 then.
Yeah, I have them losing at Clemson and then at Louisville as well.
Yeah.
And then at UNC.
I'll trouble on that with you. Yeah, I have them going 9-3, 6-3. I have them losing to they'll lose to Louisville, but they'll beat Texas Tech. I'm just changing that up because that makes more sense. And then what do you have Clemson going?
I have them going either 10-2 or 9-3. I have them going under. They're under over-under 10.5, so I think it's pretty easily under. Their schedule's just too tough for them to get 11 wins. Because I just don't think DJ is.
I'm telling DJ is going to get benched after that Wake Forest loss. That's what I think. And then I think they're going to wake up a little bit, but then they're going to lose to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And then they could lose to Miami as well, but I don't think they will at home because their road games really aren't that, like BC and FSU. This schedule, like, they have so many home games. That's not fair.
They're one of
What
the
is
best
this?
in the country. And like, yeah, let's give them 8 home
Are
games.
you kidding me? They're playing 12 games and they have 4 on the road. Wake, BC, Florida State, and Notre Dame. That's ridiculous. Dabo must have paid somebody. That's crazy.
Yeah, and then another reason I have them going under is just like, so Dabo's still there, obviously, but they lost their OC and their DC.
And their
They lost Tony Elliott and Prem Venables both left. So I think
People hurt them.
there's going to be enough turnover there and enough DJ struggling that I just don't think they get to 11 wins.
I agree. So that's an under for us. And then so what's your conference title matchup?
Clemson against Miami.
Clemson, Miami. Okay. I have Wake and Miami. Is that our next topic as well?
No, next would be NY6 games.
Wait, no, here. Predict conference championship game.
Did I read that? Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, so
yeah.
you have Miami over.
I have Miami over Clemson.
So do you have Clemson winning and then Miami beating them again? You have them against each other?
I have Clemson winning the first game, Miami winning the second game.
Perfect. I have Miami over Wake Forest in the ACC championship game, which will come down to Wake Forest's defense crapping out. That's when they crap out, I think. Tyler Van Dyke's going to throw for like 465 yards and 5 touchdowns. And it's going to be a shootout. I think it'll be a great game. But Miami's going to win because I think, for me, I just love the Wake-Miami matchup because it's kind of like why is this like no Clemson again? And 2 teams that Miami's faltered again and again and again and again in the ACC championship. And Wake had a super, super, super bad game last year on defense, and they shut down Sam Hartman. So, sorry, Sam, but heartbreak again. Miami wins the ACC.
Yeah, that was a fun game. That'll be a fun game if that's what ends up being the conference championship game. That'll be one of the better probably conference championship games.
Yeah,
just because it's going to be a shootout. So then we have, I've jumped ahead of the gun a little bit, NY6 games. So you have 4 teams going, or do you have 3? Do you have Wake, Miami, and who?
I have Wake, Miami, and Clemson going to the NY6 games.
So I have Miami and Clemson, and I think NC State might make one if Devin Leary pushes them to 10 wins somehow. But I think that would be Miami and Clemson pretty easily there, and then maybe NC State.
I think NC State plays one of those New Year's games that aren't like, you know what I'm talking, like when one of those lower bowl games on New Year's Day, like
one of the games on New Year's.
Capital One Bowl, I could see something like that. Well, they'll get national exposure, but it won't be NY6.
Yeah. So then, finally, what are your hot takes for the ACC?
My hot takes, like I said before, I'll go right back to it. DJ Uiagalelei is a bench after the terrible loss against Wake Forest. Dabo freaks out, goes on some absolute tangent, and he gets benched for the rest of the year.
My first, also TD related, I have Malik Cunningham as a Heisman finalist.
I have Sam Hartman as a Heisman finalist as my other hot take.
Yeah, Malik is plus 6,600 to win. I might bet that. I don't know. Because it's just like, obviously it's like, if it wins, it's great, but it's the kind of thing like, what are the odds he really gets there? So I have my hot take is he's a finalist. He doesn't win, but he gets to the show. He gets to New York.
Yep. So then my other one is Sam Hartman. We'll snake draft. I'll jump back to my third one. I think that, I don't know if it's a hot take considering what we've been so high in Miami. Miami wins their New Year's Six bowl and they get a boatload of recruits and they become a legit contender in the SEC in 2026 and then crap out midseason like they always do.
Yeah. So then one of my other ones is I have A.T. Perry. So it kind of goes along with your Sam Hartman Heisman. I have A.T. Perry going over 1,500 yards.
I love that. Yeah. I think Hartman as a Heisman finalist, I think Hartman can get to 5,000 yards legitimately. I think if I'm talking up Wake Forest this much, I keep hyping up Sam Hartman, I think he'll have close to 5,000 yards.
Yeah. So then what is your last one?
Yeah, just the Miami one that kind of jumped. Yeah, I jumped around.
And then so my last one was Duke wins 2 games. I think Duke's going to be miserable this year, which might not even be a hot take considering how bad I think.
I love that.
But I think they win 2 games this year.
2 games. I love how I have them winning. Like I have them winning 4 games. I love it. I'm gonna bet that Duke over.
I can't believe that.
I just think their first 3 games were so horrible.
And they are, but I think they still lose one of those. I'm
sure they will. It's Temple, Northwestern, NC A&T, and Kansas. Maybe they could legitimately lose 3 of those 4 as well. They could win 1 game all year. It goes from 1 to 4. They're not winning more than 4 games. No shot.
Outside of those 4, there's no.
They don't have a remote chance. I don't think of beating any. I don't think they have a shot of winning a. Do I have them winning a? I have them beating Georgia Tech. That's my 1 conference win for them. I have them at 4 wins. Let's go. Go Blue Devils. I went to the football stadium once. I went on some visit, and it's literally in a pit. It's crazy.
Dave, known Duke fan.
No, I'm not a Duke fan. I just went to Duke. I went to the Duke Cincinnati Belk Bowl when that guy had the 96-yard. Will Monday had a 96-yard punt.
I think you actually tweeted about that.
Yeah, I did tweet about that. Yeah, it was awesome. I was I think I was 13. And I was like, can I have ice cream? My dad's like, why do you want ice cream? It's 20 degrees. And I was like, I don't know. And I had it. It was a terrible decision.
Okay, so that is our preview for the ACC. So both of us have Miami winning. Both of us have Miami and Clemson going to NY6 games. So we're big on the U here at the Transfer Portal CFB. So like I said, this is preview week. So go ahead and look at all of our previews. Next week we're going to have all of the Group of 5 conferences. I think you're doing the MAC.
I'm doing MACtion, baby. I cannot wait. I got my MAC shirt already to go. Kent State, don't sleep.
Kent State. I liked Kent State a lot last year.
Yeah.
I love Action's so good.
It's the best.
All right. And so follow us at TPortalCFB on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, all of that good stuff. Tune into the transferportalcfb.com where we have a ton of stories going up. We have previews, all the conferences, betting previews, over-unders for teams, Heisman bets, that kind of thing, best values for conference champs. We have all kinds of stuff going up. The season's coming close. We're almost less than 40 days away now.
45.
45.
Can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm amped.
It's going to be such a good year. Okay, but that is it for us. So, later, guys. Have a good one.
See you.